Hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome back to another episode. This is, of course, Don't Make Me Choose. It's an interactive fiction podcast in which we will take a look at various interaction fiction works, everything from classic, choose your own adventure, style text adventures, all the way up to machine learning based dynamic storytelling through applications such as AI Dungeon. Last week, we took a look at the Interactive Fiction Archive, and we looked at a submission from the 2000 Interactive Fiction Competition, which was the 6th annual competition held back at the turn of the millennia. We looked at a project called Wrecked, and we might have wrecked that whole project. I wasn't too proud with how I showed that off. I ran into a common problem that I typically have with parser-based text adventures, which is trying to just figure out the vocabulary used in the commands. And so I don't feel I did it justice, so we probably will visit that again in the future. But for today, we're going to head back over to the Interactive Fiction Archive, and we're actually going to start a mini-series or maybe a long series. I'm not really sure where this will end up going, but this will be part one in at least a short series on the 2020 Interactive Fiction Competition submissions. So we're going to jump 20 years from where we were in last episode, and we'll check out one or maybe two, depending on time, one or two of the projects that are out there for the 2020 IFComp. And as always, before we get started, I do want to plug our Plink session that we have going. For those of you who don't know, Plink is an online web application which allows users to collaboratively create music. So we are going to have some background music going on, but on top of that, I'm going to have a Plink session running. So if you would like to help contribute to the soundtrack for this episode, feel free to hit the Plink command to get the URL for that. Hop in there and make some noise. And of course, as we're looking at today's project, this is called Don't Make Me Choose. So I ask that, if anyone's in chat, feel free to participate. Offer your suggestions for which decisions we should make. I'm an indecisive person, and I would love the help. And I think it could be a lot of fun to work together through these adventures. And so with that, let's hop over to the Interactive Fiction Archive. As a reminder from last week, this is kind of a effort that was created back in 92. Started by the interactive fiction community. This was long before my time. Actually, a year before I was born was when this started. So it was cool to stumble across this when I started looking into ideas for this podcast. And this is really the one-stop shop for everything interactive fiction. They've got everything from articles, developer tools to help make your own adventures. And then obviously they have compiled a extensive list of various interactive fiction works. As you can see here, we've got every interactive fiction competition since the very first one back in 1995, and then all the way up to this past year in 2020. And they've got more and more. I've really just scratched the surface of what this site has to offer. I feel like it's a great resource for those who are interested in the genre, and I highly recommend checking it out if you're interested in doing this on your own time. But as I said, we're going to take a look at the 2020 Interactive Fiction Competition submissions. We're going to start a little series on that. I think today I did a quick browse on what they have to offer from this year's submissions. I don't know who won this competition or if the winner's even been decided, seeing that 2020 did kind of recently come to an end. But I did a quick scroll through, and one of the first ones that caught my eye was this this story here, or this project, by Tarquin Segundo. I apologize if that wasn't pronounced correctly. It's called Incident: Aliens on the Teresten. So I'll give a brief I'll read the description that was given with the project. You can see the cover art that the developer or the creator decided to go with. I'll go ahead and read the description so we can have an idea of what we can expect. So the scientist Churlu created the knot to be a source of peace and prosperity for the galaxy. But a routine training mission turned into terror when the bloodthirsty Ilfane attacked. Get ready, young space cadet. Surviving the Ilfane invasion won't be easy, but you can't let the knot fall into the wrong hands. Remember, no knot unties itself. You may need to seek aid from an unusual source. So that kind of caught my attention. I kind of liked that whole description. The knot seems to be some source of, as it said, peace and prosperity in the galaxy. I'm not sure if it's some sort of technological device, some method of communication between various alien races throughout the galaxy. But it did pique my interest, so I think we're going to start with this one today. So I will go ahead and jump back to the list of games for this competition so I can pull up the actual HTML page that will launch this project. And what I noticed from when we looked at last week's episode, those were projects submitted back in the year 2000. It was the sixth one, so it wasn't 1995. But, what I had noticed was if not all of the projects were all parser-based and, required a couple maneuvers and jump through a couple hoops to get the projects up and running. I had to download a couple different interpreters to test out some of the projects. And what I'm noticing in the 2020 submissions is there's a lot of web-based submissions where, there's a lot of them that can be run right here in the browser, which I think is really cool, and it shows a slight evolution that the community kind of went through, and this competition in general went throughout the years, where the technology is improving, things are becoming more accessible, and I think that's really cool to see. And so with the ease of that, I think we can go ahead and open up the project. We're greeted with this great welcome screen here with the title, Incident: Aliens on the Teresten. There is an introduction, so I think I will go ahead and start the background music, which is, of course, going to be space-themed for today, given the topic of today's story. And I will go ahead and unmute the Plink session. Again, if you want to jump in, feel free to collaborate together, make some music along top of this background track. And I'm interested to see where this story brings us. Okay, and with that introduction out of the way, let us begin this introduction. Here we go. Incident: Aliens on the Teresten. Kapow. The panel is destroyed in a shower of sparks, sealing the door to the chamber of the knot. At least Churlu's ray zapper was useful for something. It didn't even slow the Ilfrane down. Their massacre of the crew of the test run was fast and terrifying. Perhaps you salivated prematurely. You'd only completed the first of many tests on the knot, but still. You had no idea if the Ilfane would have their eye on your experiments. The energy provided by the knot would have ushered in a new era of peace and prosperity, but the Ilfane will use it to advance their dark dreams of fascist conquest. So the introduction went a little fast, but we are in. And what I'm noticing right off the bat, this is a choice-based story, choice-based text adventure. And right off the bat, I know when we looked at Infinite Story a couple episodes ago, which is another choice-based website, housing a lot of different works, all within the choose your own adventure style, choice-based text adventures. They have a nice wall of text, followed by a couple choices that the author wanted to have available to the reader. And what I'm noticing here is that there's actually bolded words right within the story, and it seems like that is, at least at this point, how the choice-based aspect of this adventure is going to be, which is cool to see. This is the first project I saw that incorporated this type of decision making. Okay, so let us begin. I apologize for the introduction. Text was moving kind of fast, so I didn't get it all, but here we go. The Chamber of the Knot is simple and stark. Only a weak scientist, worried their research won't be taken seriously, needs a fancy laboratory. Painted on the wall is the logo of the Cinquetet. Before you, the housing for the knot, and attached to the housing, a computer. And so we have logo of the Cinquetet highlighted, housing for the knot highlighted, and computer highlighted. So we can go ahead and start exploring these options to get some more information and hopefully progress the story along. And so at this point, I would ask anyone in chat, feel free to offer suggestions. From what I'm seeing, I think I'm talking to myself. So I will go ahead and I'm gonna inspect the logo of the Cinquetet. So the Cinquetet is the alliance of the 5 planets in your solar system. Its logo consists of a flat gold disc in the center representing the sun. It is surrounded by 5 concentric circles, each representing the orbit of a different planet. I would have liked to have seen some sort of some art to go along with this logo. I feel like that was a good opportunity to show something. Obviously, I don't know the specs of these projects or the submission deadlines or anything, so I can imagine projects like this take some time. I would assume they ran out of time and there was no good way to incorporate that into the project. But regardless, gave a good description. Cinquetet is the alliance of all the planets, 5 planets in our solar system. Closest to the sun is the red planet of Kermermary. Some great pronunciation opportunities here for me to mess up. Sentient masses of fire, the Kermermarians live happily and playfully in the lava lakes, which you can swim in with special equipment. Cool. I don't know if I would voluntarily swim in lava lakes, but I guess with the proper equipment, who knows. Next are the acid-dwelling Felconar, who enjoy the noxious atmosphere of their yellow planet. They spend their days by the hydrochloric flats. Since they don't need to eat, they are wonderfully, seductively lazy. Interesting. The green planet of Wakusto is home to a species of twee tree dwellers who live in large fuzzy piles. Tourists love eating cabre fruit and taking a nap with their Wukanstan hosts. But don't eat too many, as cabre fruit is very poisonous. Cool. Alright. Beware the brown planet of Rill. Just kidding. The mud dwellers are sensitive souls and the finest artisans the galaxy knows. They will be happy to give you a great bargain, so long as you appreciate art. And then there's a warning at the bottom that says, do not go to Rill if you don't appreciate art. Okay. Fair enough. And finally, your own planet, the white ice world of Keel. I'm just gonna say Keel. Maybe it is not a planet for everyone, but it is the planet that you call home. You wonder if you will ever see it again. Alright, so we just had the 5 planets described to us. We know our home planet of Keel is not a planet for everyone. Makes me wonder why. Okay, so let's move forward. To sum up this important clue, the colors of the planets and the cinquetet are as follows, from the innermost one, closest to the sun, to the one furthest away. So this is some sort of clue for the story, so let's ingrain this in our mind. We have red, yellow, green, brown, white. Perhaps you should make note of this if you ever come across 5 objects that look like planets which need to be placed into receptacles in a particular color order. It's a pretty good hint. I think I'll drop this in the chat so that we can remember. So let me do that really quick, because I would definitely forget the order. So far, I'm pretty impressed with the setup for the story. Alright, so I have that in chat for us to remember for later. Let's proceed forward. Since evolution progressed on all 5 planets at roughly the same rate, all species achieve sentience and awareness of each other at the same time. Because their biospheres and biologies are all so different, no species ever felt itself in competition or conflict with another. It's pretty fortunate. I'm sure this is happening somewhere in the universe, or maybe this is something we experience in the future. But could you imagine living life with another species of some sort within your solar system? Just you're born and that's just reality. That would be pretty wild. Alright, so that was our introduction to cinquetet. And so we have some more background information. We know we're one of 5 planets. Each one of the planets have some sort of sentient intelligence on them, but they don't seem to be in competition with each other. Let's go ahead and take a look at the housing for the knot. So you see the knot glimmering through the force field that protects its housing. The pinnacle of decades of research, this object could have saved the galaxy. Of course, the vicious Ilfane would covet it. So I don't think we've been introduced to the Ilfane formally yet. So let's go ahead and take a look at the computer that's attached to the housing. The computer displays the following options: ship logs, ship status, unlock the knot, and unlock the knot. I think maybe we'll look at these in order. Anyone in chat, if you have any opinions, feel free to suggest. Now's the time. This is, of course, called Don't Make Me Choose. So I'd appreciate if you don't make me choose. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the ship logs. You've never bothered to make a log, but many of your other crewmates do, and all logs on the Teresten are kept public. What secrets would a member of the cinquetet have from another? So what secrets would the member have from another? Honesty and integrity are important. It is why you are proud to be citizen. So it looks like we've got 3 logs we could check out. We'll start with the first one. This is a log from Formacor, who I guess is the ship linguist. And it reads as follows. Another attack by the Ilfane. Why do they destroy everything? Perhaps their mindless culture cannot create. They only venerate thugs with weapons. Their planet must be so disgusting and horrid that all they can think to do is destroy everyone else's. This shame leads them to genocide. Interesting. So, the Ilfane is a destructive race, which is unfortunate. The ways of the Ilfane are mysterious to us. Fortunately, I've discovered a codex which can perhaps give us a clue to how to understand their language. Perhaps this will allow us to unlock the secrets of their motivations. That would be helpful. The Ilfane slaughtered a diplomatic corpse. I think corpse as in corporation. They have no desire to join our alliance. Churlu has taken to carrying out a ray zapper. The Sin Quartet find strength through diversity, but the Ilfane kill anything unlike them. Perhaps this is peace to them. If they kill everyone unlike them, they can finally get beyond hate. It's quite the assumption that everyone unlike them would just automatically hate them. But it sounds built into their culture. Interesting, cool. So now I'm seeing a screen presented with 9 different symbols coming from the Ilfane language. It looks like these are runes, so this is what the linguist continued saying. I have finally decrypted the runes. I know what their names are, but I do not yet know their meanings. So again, there's 9 different runes here. I'm hoping I don't need to remember these. And I am also glad to hear that we do not know the meanings yet, because I wouldn't know where to start. Continuing on. I now understand the language of the Ilfane. Every word means murder. This is why they are silent among themselves. Their language's only purpose is to communicate their disregard for life unlike them. Their only motivation is to make the galaxy great again by destroying all foreign life. Only a miracle can stop the Ilfane. I just hope that the knot is that miracle. Interesting. Thank you, Formacor. That gave a lot of insight for this elusive alien race known as the Ilfane. Let's take a look at the next log, which is from Churlu, who's the action scientist. There are members of the Sin Quartet who are joining them, and it terrifies me. They are recruiting. My cousin fought against the squadron of Rill. Rill! That they could forsake rich colors for the Ilfane's cloying, lifeless red and gold would have been inconceivable once. So it sounds like some of the Rill are actually going over to the Ilfane. Which is interesting because if they were part of the Sin Quartet, which is made up of the 5 planets in our solar system, all evolving and developing together, yet not in competition with each other, I'm not sure why the Rill would want to join the Ilfane, who sees life as being, whose main goal is to destroy other forms of life unlike them. Seems like the Rill might have been a little more advanced intelligently compared to the Ilfane, but I guess not. Continuing on, I would never believe a Wukustan capable of violence, but I know about a pile of Wukustans who joined up with the Ilfane. What is it about the Ilfane's sterile purity that attracts otherwise sane beings who know they will be treated as food for their disgusting autarch? Yeah, similar idea to what I just said. Not sure why those within our solar system are going to this seemingly devolved species. I have talked to a fellow Kermerarian. This is gonna kill me. I have talked to a fellow Kermerarian, one who grew up in the same lake as I did, who kept saying, I just don't think the Ilfane are that bad, and the Sin Quartet has its problems too. I cannot understand this. I've seen images of Ilfane planets, and they are all the same. They are industrial wastelands filled with shuffling maggoteers, presided over by horrible hulking nook guards. Every move dictated by their gruesome autarch. Isn't it peaceful, some will say? But that is a peace I would never want to experience. I have taken to carrying around a ray zapper. I imagine what it would feel like to assassinate their autarch. I'm wondering if the autarch is their leader. That's what it sounds like. We'll have to see. To behold the death of the immortal Nook. But I am an action scientist, not a murderer. I cannot myself become an Ilfane. I do not know if the knot will bring about the kind of peace that I want for the galaxy. The kind of peace found in the wild and the untamed and the exuberant. Not the sterility. I can't even say it. Not the sterility of law and order, but the fecundity of life. I do know that we have to try. We have to resist the Ilfane. And that marks the end of Churlu's log. From that, I gather that for whatever reason, the Ilfane is attracting many of those within our solar system and our communities, which is a scary thought to think about, since we have this idea of peace and how all life needs to work together to achieve ultimate peace, and it sounds like the Ilfane is corrupting that idea. The last log we're going to look at is from Gavel, who's the navigator. Because of how much I respect the great action scientist Churlu, I have decided to volunteer to be the navigator on the Teresten for the first real test of the device. Churlu made an inspiring, beautiful speech. I really believe we are going to change the galaxy. The knot is a miracle. It creates more energy than it uses. Something about temporal distortion. How the knot can access a confluence where all energy exists and we can siphon as much as we want. It's a little over my head. I am but a simple navigator, but it sounds impressive. Limitless energy does indeed sound impressive. We are all worried about an Ilfane attack. Formicor has begun wandering around with proclamations of death. Churlu says we will be fine, but has taken to carrying a ray zapper. I hope we can finish the knot before the Ilfane swarm in. Churlu has placed a hologram of the Nook in the cargo bay and has been using it as ray zapper target practice. I agree that the Nook is deplorable, an abomination who delights in every atrocity committed by the violent Ilfane. But even an action scientist must be of peace. Churlu has been ignoring the test of the knot and has been spending all day in the cargo bay. Everything has fallen to our remaining crew member, whose name I do not know, even though it can be easily deduced if you correctly interpret a bunch of subtle hints and clues. They're coming, Churlu said. By the distant star system, they are coming. It is too late. The Ilfane will capture the knot and grind the entire galaxy under them. The Nook's influence will spread and stain everything. And we cannot do anything about it. That's not the right attitude to have. Alright, so those were all the ship logs. Let's look at the ship's status. Oh. Ship status. Engines. Destroyed. Hull. Breached. Life support. Failed. Fuel. Being siphoned as we speak. Crew. All dead except for you. That is not good. Let's unlock the knot. Knot chamber locked. Enter code. Okay, so we have a 5x5 grid. Some sort of pattern. And if I click on one of them, it changes it to a 0. Okay. So we have to unlock the knot somehow. My guess would be the logo of the Sin Quintet. It's 5 planets in the center. So the logo consists of a flat gold disc in the center representing the sun. It is surrounded by 5 concentric circles, each representing the orbit of a different planet. So, you know, reading the description of the logo, it makes me think, you know, we're gonna have one circle in the middle and then 5 orbit circles around it. And again, we have the order of the planets, but I don't think that applies here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think we have enough. Alright, so I did try a code. Oh wow. The alarm blares through the ship. Alerting. Typo. So the alarm blares through the ship, alerting the Ilfane of your location. You are assailed first by the kerosene smell of their torches, next by the foul miasma spewing from their uncovered mouths, and finally by the red-skulled monstrosities themselves. Their vacant expressions bear no motivation as they attack. And then in flashing red text, the galaxy has fallen. Let's try to do that again. Alright, so we gotta figure out the code to unlock the knot. And my assumption is we've been given enough information to figure this out. However, I'm going to have to revisit some of the things we already read to try and pick up some clues that I may have missed. Okay, so the housing doesn't really give much. Maybe one of the runes? Although, I think the runes were from the Ilfane, so I don't know why we would have an Ilfane rune as our password to unlock the knot. Let's see. Discovered a codex for the Ilfane. I'm looking at the runes now, and I don't see any that would really fit the 5x5 grid we have to work with. Maybe this one, this spiral, but again, all these runes mean murder. And a device that is designed for peace, I can't see that being the code to unlock, this device. Let's see. Not chamber locked. Enter code. So we met with the same galaxy as Fallen. It's a 5x5 grid. Let's see. I'm also not sure if it's throwing the message after the same amount of digits. Like I can do 5 safely, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that one threw it on 8. This was Churlu's device, I believe, so maybe his log has some clues. Alright, I'll read Churlu's again, more carefully this time. There are members of the Cinquetet who are joining them, the Ilfane, and it terrifies me. They are recruiting. My cousin fought against a squadron of Rill. That they could forsake rich colors for the Ilfane's cloying, lifeless red and gold would have been inconceivable once. I would never believe a Wukenstan capable of violence, but I know about a pile of Wukenstans who join up with the Ilfane. What is it about the Ilfane's sterile purity that attracts otherwise sane beings who know they will be treated as food for the disgusting Artarch? Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Not reading it out loud, but as I am reading this on, I know he has a ray zapper. We don't know what it looks like. So we have to resist the Ilfane. Okay, maybe we can't do that yet. I mean, let me just try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Threw it on 8 again. So we have an 8 character code or a pattern made up of 8 different symbols. in a 5x5 grid. I mean, what was the logo for this project again? Maybe that's the clue. I don't know, do I inspect the page using Chrome Debugger? Oh, I think that brought me back, actually. It did. Alright, so we are back, whatever, opening the Chrome Debugger brought me back to the title page. Once this introduction loads, we will pick up where we left off. I'm reading this introduction text to see if there was a password given or a code. Nothing. Alright. The Cinquetet is the alliance of the 5 planets in your solar system. Its logo consists of a flat gold disc in the center representing the sun. It is surrounded by 5 concentric circles, each representing the orbit of a different planet. Closest is red, then yellow, getting no descriptions of some sort of symbol-based code. Green, brown. We appreciate art for real. I mean, I know the white planet is our planet. It's the ice word of kale. Okay, I'm not seeing any symbols. Yep, and it says the important clue for the colors of the planets, like, should only be applied if I come across 5 objects that look like planets that need to be placed in receptacles in a particular order. So I don't see that applying here. Yep. Progression of all 5 planets happened at the same rate, so there's no competition amongst them. And then we're brought back to the main screen. I mean, is it just a guess game? I don't really want to just start guessing. I know it takes 8 characters. Okay, that didn't work. I don't think I'm getting any clues here. Okay. We need to unlock the knot. Oh no. Let me see something really quick. I was hoping this choice-based project would maybe be a little more straightforward. But I have hit a roadblock of some sort. So I'm looking at seeing if there's any reviews for the project to maybe get an additional clue for the code. But I don't see anything. It does say that if you're finding it tough, you might better understand it if you check it out in context on the original IFComp entry pages. Okay. And then it does give a nothing is standing out as an additional clue from what I'm seeing. I don't see a walkthrough anywhere, which is good because I don't really want a walkthrough. Let me see. Unlock the knot. Okay, so it is looking for 8 symbols. It's not just 8 inputs on the code or the grid. Okay, it threw the error after that one. Interesting. Okay, a simple circle is not the code. There's no way to do like a binary input. It's only zeros. I don't know. Is it just guessing 8 different combinations here? I feel like there should be something else. So I know there's 5 planets surrounding the sun in our solar system. So if we had a circle for each planet, that would leave 3 remaining inputs. So if a sun was made up of those 3 inputs, maybe something like that, I guess. But if I look at the grid, I'm not seeing like 1, 2, 3, and then what? Like, it's a square, so I can't even do 5 evenly. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, and then. Alright, maybe it's a K. Can I make a K out of 8 symbols here? That's already 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope. I don't know. Let me look at the... Again, I don't think it's the runes. Let me read through these other logs again. This is talking about the attacks from the Ilfane. Oh, this was the codex containing the runes. Not seeing anything. Again, these all mean murder in the Ilfane language. I can't see that being the code to unlock a device aimed to, give universal peace. The knot. Yep, and this was from Churlu, talking about the different planets starting to get recruited by the Ilfane for whatever reason. Talking about the Ilfane planet. He's carrying a ray zapper. And the last log. So the knot is miracle. It creates more energy than it uses. Something about temporal distortion, how the knot can access a confluence where all energy exists, and we can siphon as much as we want. I mean, I'm not getting any hints in terms of what type of symbol the code might be. Nook. Yep. Churlu's been doing target practice in the cargo bay. Everything has fallen to our remaining crew member. I'm assuming that's me, whose name I don't know, even though it can be easily deduced if you correctly interpret a bunch of subtle hints and clues. That's the only thing that makes me think there's something buried in all these logs and, logo descriptions, etc. But I'm not picking anything up. They're coming. It's too late, blah, blah, blah. I cannot do anything about it. I would love to do something about it, but I am not able to unlock the knot. All right, last resort. I'm gonna Google the knot code and see if that comes up. I don't know if it will, but I'd love to progress further in this story without wasting too much more time, because I really like the setup for this so far. Nothing. Yeah, the one thing I found is someone pointing out that they did leave the clue, you know, regarding the planet colors, and that we should make note of that. Interesting. So this might be... Interesting. So I guess... Sorry, I'm just reading something really quick. So it looks like this game is actually tied in with two other submissions in the competition, which is really interesting. Because I'm wondering if there's like clues hidden in the other two games for what the code is to unlock the knot, which would really make this series even more interesting, because we would be forced to look at least these other two projects as well. Let me see. Okay. This is why you look into things before you showcase them. This is pretty interesting. Let me let me pull this up, and I'll share it on the stream for now, and we'll read through it together. All right, so IFComp 2020, the knot. The comp is on its last day. Let's take one last look at a game that I previously judged without knowing its full extent. You won't find the knot in the list of entries because it's spread out over 3 games. Adventures in the Tomb of Ilfane by Willershin Rill, which, if we remember, Rill was the brown planet. Incident Aliens of the Teresten by Tarquin Segundo, which is what we're looking at today. And the one I had written up previously, Terror in the Immortals Atelier by Gevel Formicor. And Formicor was one of the, I think was the ship's linguist. The title, The Knot, is used in the closing credits for the whole. Note that the author names are part of the title. Say that again. The putative authors are just as fictional as the game's content. Each nonsense word they are composed of, Willerschen, and Formicor, and so forth, is used in the other two games in some other capacity as the name of a fantastic creature or a lost civilization or whatever. 3 games are in different genres: fantasy, space opera, Indiana Jones-style tomb raiding, but they are exceedingly similar, fitting their content into the same patterns, even reusing essentially the same intro text and room description, just swapping out some words to fit the genre. The connection between them couldn't be clearer, and the only reason that I missed it when I played Atelier is that I hadn't even noticed the existence of the other 2 games yet. Okay, so I think that's where we are too. I didn't even know these 3 games were connected. The titles even strive to minimize this possibility of even this happening because they all start with quotation marks. Very true. They get listed together when alphabetized, but my IFComp account is set up to randomize the order by default to better give, to make it fair if this person's actually going to go through and judge the projects. And there was a large number of entries to make it easy to lose sight of them. Okay, so the reuse of names had me wondering if the 3 works were set in the same world at 3 points in time. Is Dr. Churlu the action scientist who worked on creating the powerful energy source known as the Knot? Is that the same person as Autarch Churlu, who rules his world with an iron fist, using a mysterious artifact known as the Knot to maintain his immortality? I don't think that works though, because the same words are sometimes used with completely different meanings. Ilfane, for example, is a legendary hero in one game, an invading alien race in another, and the device housing the Knot in the third. Okay. Yeah, so we know Ilfane as the alien race in the one we're looking at today. There is, however, some suggestion of connections between the worlds beyond just the presence of an immensely powerful object called the Knot. Like when the tomb of Ilfane contains a representation of the solar system where the spaceship Teresten is. And it is these connections that form the basis of the puzzles. Interesting. Very cool. I'm into this a lot. As with the fact that the games are connected, the game goes out of its way to make the puzzle clues really, really obvious, to the point of putting "this is an important clue" in flashing letters at the top of the page and saying, "Perhaps you should take a note of this if you ever come across blah blah blah," which we did take note of, as I mentioned. I have a better suggestion than taking notes though. These games are best played simultaneously in 3 browser tabs, or even better, if you have enough screen space, 3 browser windows side by side. That way when you find a clue, you can keep it on the screen while you play the other 2 games, looking for the puzzle it's a clue for. Awesome. Okay. Anyway, there's not a lot of game past the point of noticing the connections I've just described, completely spoiling the experience of discovering them. Okay, I don't know if I want to... Alright, so 2 of the games don't properly end in themselves, just leaving you hanging on a page with a final clue that you need to reach the ending of all 3 stories in the third. This goes a step beyond the hat mystery and into Broken Age territory. I don't know what those are. Something else we can look at in the future. Blah blah blah. Sweet. So this was a very interesting discovery. I really like this concept of tying 3 games together. I think that's really cool. Obviously, I wasn't prepared for that going into today's episode, but I think this sets it up pretty nicely. And I think I definitely don't want to start diving into the other two games, as like we have 15-20 minutes left that I had allocated for this episode, and I don't think we would do justice to, you know, the scope of what this is turning out to be. So I think what I will do is take one last look here, but based on what we just read, it sounds like we're going to want to take a look at these other two projects simultaneously, because I bet that's where we're going to discover the code needed to unlock the knot here. So I'm going to make the executive decision here. I'm going to call the episode for today. Maybe look into this a bit more. I don't want to uncover too many spoilers. And really, if I can avoid doing anything like that, that'd be best. But I think this sets up for part 2 next week, Saturday. And I'll figure out a good way to get all 3 projects running simultaneously on stream, so that those watching have something entertaining to look at. And then I think we'll pick this up next week for sure, and really start diving deeper into this world that's now becoming even bigger than initially thought. So with that, I think I'm going to end today's episode. Like I said, thanks for everyone who watched, listened. Feel free to follow on Instagram. I tend to post a story before going live, to kind of give a heads up of when we are planning on going live. We have a YouTube channel. Feel free to just subscribe there. That's where I upload episodes after they're recorded. Follow on Twitch if you haven't already, so that you get the notification next time we go live. And with all of that, I hope you all have a good rest of the weekend, a good week next week, and I'll see you all next episode when we look at these 3 projects together and start to uncover more clues and make more progress. So thanks, and see you in the next episode. Bye.